Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'm going to follow on from the Owen Paterson fallout. In fact, I'm going to be doing that today and discuss on this occasion how we can make maybe relatively simple reforms to our parliamentary system which would cut out a lot of these sources of corruption. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news in politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So, should any of us need reminding, this last week in British politics has warned us of the serious problems with corruption amongst our MPs. Not just the preserve of Conservative MPs, though the scale of the problem and the moves to protect their own when found out does seem to be largely a Conservative issue. But never mind that. This is not a party political issue. It is in all of our interests and those of good MPs of all parties that corruption is scaled back. I know it will never happen with Boris Johnson in charge, but for the future, hopefully the not too far future. In fact, just on that point about Boris Johnson, little aside, because the events surrounding the Owen Paterson mess last week, they just kept becoming more and more ridiculous. Every time a video went after that, it's got even sillier. The Times, I think it was, reported that a new Red Wall Tory MP on crutches hobbled up to Owen Paterson last week over, the Standards Committee fiasco and called him a see you next Tuesday, apparently. In fact, a whole load of Tory MPs, mostly from those tentative Red Wall seats, I gather, were hurling a fair amount of abuse his way. For goodness sake, did he put a gun to their head and force them through the lobby door to vote for trashing our democracy? No, he did not. They should accept some responsibility themselves. And if the self-absorbed so-and-sos really can't bear to accept their responsibility for their part in this, then shouldn't they be at least directing their anger at Boris Johnson? The Daily Express this was amazing, yesterday. The Daily Express front page. Now, there have been some Conservative papers over the last year or so at some time or other criticising Boris Johnson. The Daily Express, never. This is the first one I think I can remember. I cannot remember seeing a front page like this attacking Boris Johnson in the Express. It seems to be a paper that exists to promote Boris Johnson. This is stunning. But anyway, back to the corruption, because I want to discuss real solutions. Not ones that will wipe out political corruption. Some of it would require very complex solutions. I don't know those solutions. But a lot of it only needs something simple. And I'm all about solutions. Lots of people will complain about something but not actually say what they would rather replace it with. Because the problem is, if you don't say what you should replace it with, someone else can't argue with you. Maybe that's what people want, not to be argued with. I like to be quite clear what the alternative should be. Right, now, one solution that would help solve a lot of problems is just getting rid of Boris Johnson. Yes, he would be replaced with another Conservative and an extreme Brexit Conservative at that. But it's the incompetence that gets me. I was saying on Twitter recently that I could accept being ruled by calculating evil. I get that. What I can't abide is being ruled by stupid evil. It offends me being governed by people who are causing huge damage to our country and our people, and they're not even being clever about it. It's embarrassing. But anyway, back to the corruption again. And corruption is as old as politics itself, of course. It is logical enough. Evil, selfish people are more motivated to seek positions of power than good, selfless people. As a result, unless you've got a stupendously good system for preventing it, you'll get more bad people in charge than good people. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you get a bumper harvest of highly motivated people with a strong desire to do good, who also have the brains to realise those ambitions. But how do you manage a system to try and dissuade the selfish evil part? Well, let's take the problems one by one. The Owen Paterson case was one of an MP being paid as a lobbyist for private companies. Randox, for example, it's not the one that sunk him, but it's the big one. The company who was given a government COVID contract for over £100 million without having to compete for it against other companies. They were just given the contract. They paid Owen Paterson to lobby for that contract. And that was just one of his dodgy dealings. Not even the one, as I say, that drew this action from the Standards Committee. Something like this is easy to cut out. Some people have been suggesting that we massively ramp up MPs' wages, but prevent them taking jobs as lobbyists. Indeed, this has been Labour's policy for a few years now. But I would go further in two ways. Firstly, I'd say that MPs should not be allowed any paid employment at all. Nothing. They don't have time anyway. Caroline Lucas, the Green MP, said last week that she works 60 to 80 hours a week as an MP. There's no time for another job if you're working properly as an MP. And she's based in Brighton. Nowhere near as much travel as the poor sods representing, say, Scottish seats, for example, who keep having to go to London because we're too thick to just implement more remote working for our parliamentarians. So no jobs as lobbyists, consultants, newspaper columnists, nothing. You can write articles for newspapers for free, no problem. You're not getting paid for it. No writing books, no publishing books, nothing like that. I get that it becomes more complex if it's your own money, but that's where declarations of interest are still needed. But make it illegal for an MP to take money from someone that is not tied to your own business or, say, royalties for past work. You may have been a musician or an author or something. Okay. In return, you massively jack up MPs' pay. I don't mind that. And I mean massively. So there's no excuse at all. Like some people say, 80,000 is already a lot. Yeah, it is a lot. But some of these people, to be fair, come from professions where actually that's just about average or even below average. Ramp it right up. I don't care. £150,000 a year for a basic MP, up to, say, £250,000 for the Prime Minister. No problem with that at all. In addition, instead of expenses, just give them a tax-free lump sum of money each year that is considered enough to pay for their staffing and premises needs. No need to worry about filling expenses then. You just give them the money. They can spend on what they want. They're going to have to pay for some staff out of it. They deal with that. They can employ who they like. They want some nepotism in there. Knock yourself out, son. It's your money. Don't charge them tax on it. Tax-free lump sum for their expenses, but anything left over they can spend on whatever they like. Kit Kat, Smarties, I don't care. Holidays. But same amount for everyone. Obviously, there still need to be ministerial expenses, but no accepting gifts. None of this Boris Johnson accepting free holidays thing. You pay your own way. You do not accept gifts above a certain level. Not just that you have to declare them. You do not accept them. If they're being accepted as a representative, then they're going somewhere else. You don't get to keep them. No free holidays, no free hospitality in any context at all. None of that. You pay your own way. And this is about trying to remove as much corruption as possible. Not eliminating it, because there's no definitive answer for that. I don't have a definitive answer for that. Then my second suggestion as linked to this is for Labour specifically. So I've mentioned that it is Labour's policy to end paid lobbying for MPs in government. Of course, it wouldn't stop a future Conservative government immediately abolishing such a law, so that would be of limited value. But it's still the policy I'm in favour of, albeit not going as far as I would like. I would just like to stop all payments. But Labour don't have to wait until they're in government, do they? I've also seen suggestions, which I wholeheartedly agree with, that Labour could just implement this policy right now. It would only cover their own MPs. But why not? Nothing to stop them doing that. Show the public that they will put their money where their mouth is and subject their own MPs to the same standards they would like others to follow. That could be quite powerful. Great way to lead in opposition, in fact. Prevent anyone holding the Labour whip in Parliament if they also hold a second job. But anyway, that would have stopped the Paterson form of corruption. Doesn't stop some of the big stuff, like companies donating to the party in return for big government contracts. One way to deal with this is if any company or any person with a controlling interest in a company donates to a political party, then the party is not allowed in government to award it any public money at all. None at all, unless it has first returned all of those donations from, say, the past 10 years. If they're not able to do that, no contract may be awarded. That would dissuade the donations at both ends. The party is dissuaded because they would have to give the money back, so they're not getting the benefit of it, at which point it's no longer a bribe. But the company is also dissuaded because if it gives too much, then it's entirely possible in 5 years' time, the party won't be able to afford to give all back those donations, so they'll just miss out on the government contract, which they may have been able to win honestly. Now, it doesn't stop all corporate bribery, but it can scale it back a bit. And that's what this is all about. For example, donations paid to the party in order to get preferential treatment in the form of legislation. That's trickier to prove links with. You know, a company getting a commercial benefit from a change in the law who has donated to the party and government might be suspicious. There's not a lot you can do about that. You can't prove it. They could argue that the law is just the right law to bring in or to change or whatever. So it wouldn't stop all corruption, like I say, but it would stop some of it. You know, remember that billions of pounds was given to Tory sponsors over the past year or so, where we either didn't get the contract fulfilled at all, or we got poorer or more expensive return on it. You know, we've wasted billions of taxpayer money on corruption that may have been largely avoided if those companies would have been disqualified for the contracts on the basis of their donations, or if the lobbying didn't exist. Because the scale of corruption in politics is huge. You know, that some relatively simple steps could make an immediate difference. The low-hanging fruit of targeting easy links between payments and favours would be where I would start. Then we could work on the more complex areas after that. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. If you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.